So I got this GT on my desk the other day, and as soon as I turned it on, I got error 12, a hall sensor failure. And as soon as I tried riding the board, the motor started to crunch, scream, beep, and was practically unrideable after the first foot. So usually, we only have two options here. We can either send it to Future Motion and send it across the country to California. We live on the East Coast, by the way. And we can pray that they don't charge us something egregious for this fix and then not even tell us what it was. Or we can go buy a float wheel kit and we can pray that fixes up everything. But this time around, we did have a third option.
What's going on, y'all? My name is Jay, and I have an outright addiction to one wheels. How's my mic sounding? Is it better this time? I hope so. And today, I'm hoping to shed a little bit of light on the GTFO. This is Fungineers GT conversion kit. I'm gonna go through the entire installation guide and then also go through a little bit of a programming guide of this entire thing and just generally talk about why you would want this kit. So yeah, let's start with that question. Why would you want this? There's a few GT conversion kits going around right now. Like you have Float Wheels GTV kit, and you also have Ava Sparks GT kit. They're all great and easy options to go with. So why would anyone want to go with this one instead? Well, I'll tell you why. Like any kit, it's going to replace the controller. We're going to be putting a Thor 300 inside of here. It's also going to replace the BMS. We're going to replace it with our GTFO BMS. But unlike any other kit, this one also replaces the motor of your board. That dramatically changes the performance of your board more than anything you're probably used to. What this kit also allows you to do is that it opens up the door to a bunch of other upgrades. Usually, if you go with any other type of kit, you're sort of stuck to the motor and the battery of your board, which is great. It gets the job done and you're gonna have a phenomenal time. But there's this interesting phenomenon that happens that once you're able to feel the actual power that these boards have, you slowly want more and more and more. And this kit is gonna give you more and more and more. So what's actually inside of this kit? The Future Motion controller is gonna be ripped out and replaced with this beauty. This is the Thor 300. This is one of the smallest, most powerful, coolest running ESCs on the market. ESCs. Stupid. What's gonna be taking out that jank FM BMS is gonna be the GTFO BMS. This is a complete drop-in BMS for the stock battery. No soldering, no anything has to be done. It's a smart BMS, so we're gonna be able to see the cell health and all of our voltages and all that important information, which most people go without seeing any type of cell health. 90% of board users go without seeing any information of their battery, which, if you honestly think about it, is horrifying. If your battery goes out of balance, you have no way of knowing. If something is going wrong, like there's water inside of it, you have no way of being able to figure that out. Any serious one-wheel rider needs to see that information. It's also a charge-only BMS, so it has no effect over the discharging of our board. So if anything goes wrong with it, it's not going to immediately cut out on us. This one also has its charge port protected, that meaning you won't have a live charge port with this. Most BMSs will have the charge port unprotected, so you will have 75 volts of pure electricity running through the other side of it. This one keeps us safe and sound. And what is quite possibly the best upgrade for any board is going to be is our Superflux motor. There are two different motors. We have the high speed and the high torque. The only difference between the two are the voltage levels. Which one of those motors you want is entirely up to you. Both of them have so much more torque than any other hypercore motor, so you're not going to be missing out with any torque on either the HS or the HT. It also allows you to get so much more speed. This motor is fine for 90% of people. But what about the HT motor? The HT motor is typically only used for high voltage boards, so think like 30S, 30S2P boards. Those boards are able to utilize a lot more of the HT motor, whereas our lower voltage boards like 18S or 20S boards don't really hit that margin. The only exception for a lower voltage board needing an HT motor would be if you're like 300 pounds or if you're living literally in the Rocky Mountains and you need a gargantuan amount of torque. If you do not weigh a colossal ton and you're not climbing ginormous mountains, the HS motor is where you should go. Besides that, I think we should just go ahead and hop into it. Let's not waste any more time.
Right before we get into all of that, let's make sure that we're on the same page. I work for Fungineers, so that means everything that I'm going to be doing is going to be tainted by some film of bias. But it doesn't mean I'm going to be lying to you about the entire process. I'm going to try to give you my most accurate representation of what my process was like and what I think about it. But just got to be forward with that and let you know that I do have some bias. There's a second thing that I want to talk about too, and it's the plug and play aspect of everything in VESC. Although our kit is super easy to plug together and play with, that does not mean it's plug and play. Plug and play doesn't really exist inside of the VESC world. Even if everything is perfect and you plug everything in and you stick it all together, hardware fails, either upfront or later on down the road, and it's going to be on your responsibility to fix it, no one else's. This kit gives you all the power in the world for everything inside of your board. You're not going to be buzzing out on the most boring hills, and you're going to have an obscene amount of torque and confidence, but all that power comes with a responsibility. And that responsibility is on your hands. It's still DIY at the end of the day. You're essentially getting a DIY kit that is very curated for a simple experience. But the world of VESC is not simple. There's a long road ahead, and this is the first step to jump into it. VESC is not perfection, just a management of imperfections. All right, so now with all that out of the way, now we can get back into it.
Did that work? I hope it did. All right, let's get ready to get our hands dirty. All right, so opening up our toolkit, a little toolkit over here. We're gonna start off by grabbing our security bit, our T20. First, I'm gonna go ahead and open up this controller box. This controller box has never been opened before. This is the first time that this stock controller box is ever being opened to fresh air. All right, cool. There we go. Here we go. Let's go ahead. I'm gonna toss this over to the side. I'm gonna flip this unit over and I'm gonna open up this back side. Same thing applies for this battery box. It's the same T20 bit. Cool, all that is undone. Let's flip this choker back on over. I should have my multi-tool over here, but it's all right. Beautiful. Guess the gasket can stay in. I think the gaskets deform over time if you take them out for too long. This will be annoying as balls. All right, you know what? Whatever. We'll deal with that part later. All right. Now we're gonna take off this BMS protector. All right, so this is actually my first time, ever even seeing the inside of a GT before, and this is my first time ever installing a GTFO. I've never done it before. I've built plenty of other boards. I'm pretty used to what has to happen for this, but you're seeing this all brand new for the first time, so if anything blows up in my face, you're the spectator. I'm using gloves for this because we are working with fairly high voltage stuff here, and I'm not really keen on electrocuting myself or just messing anything up. So I would get some powderless like nitrile gloves or something like that when you're doing all of this. I'm gonna take off this BMS cover because I'd like to get inside of it. Okay, all right, so I have a newer version of the GTFO kit, and my kit doesn't actually have the screw type to go inside of here.
That's actually not true in the slightest. I had the right bit, I just didn't look for it hard enough. In this case, I just use a really small flathead to fit into the star bit of the BMS cover. Your kit should have the correct screw type in there, but in case it doesn't, just wing it.
I'll have to clear that up with Mo and whatnot, but for the time being, that's pulled up and out. Remove this now to show our BMS. First, I'm gonna start with taking care of the controller box. I'm going to take out our XT60 right here, followed by this data pin, and I'm gonna take the light bar out. Then I'm gonna go through and take care of this BMS side. We'll get to that part in a second.
Don't mind me. I'm using a knife to get this XT60 out because I already know it's going to be a pain in the ass. I'm just being really careful just by, it's a little stuck. Oh my God, that comes out so easy. That's concerning how easy that comes out. And next I'm going to take this part out, followed by the light bar. Now I'm going to take my Phillips screw out. Here we go. Put it into here. I'm going to take out all of these screws out of here. Bloop. While I'm doing this, I would just say be very careful to not let the screws fall back down onto the circuit board. If you still do have electricity running through here, you could short your board. Not really the coolest thing in the world. Be careful of this dude because this guy's live. All right, cool. All of those are good. All right. Next, I'm gonna work on getting this controller unit out. In order to take this out, I'm gonna have to take out this plastic washer right here and just unscrew both and get these nice and loose because I'm gonna have to take this and pull it up and out. So let me start working, getting all that out. I mean, whoever did this, there we go. Now she's talking. Here, there we go. Same thing with the, now that's the motor one off. Let's get that foot pad one off. And just, sweet. There we go. That's both of the washers pulled up and off of that. Everything is now disconnected from here, and I should be able to pull this out in 1 second. What I need to do now, about right here, underneath of all of these MOSFETs, there's a thermal pad on top of the bottom of the controller. On top of the bottom of the controller, on the bottom of the controller box. Yeah, that makes sense. It's gonna keep it stuck there a little bit since it's been there for so long and it's taken so much heat, it's basically kind of glued it down. So what I'm gonna do is take a heat gun or a hairdryer to right here to loosen up that thermal pad so I can then go through and pull it up, off, and out of here. Heat gun. All right, that should be enough. See if I can do that. Be careful doing this part. You should probably find a better way to do this. I'm just gonna use my little knife and try to shimmy up underneath this There we go. Now I'm just gonna take out this light bar and get it out of here as well. Might as well while I'm here. Bloop, bloop. And cast that aside, because that thing. And you'll notice that there's like a little plastic film underneath of this. Take that out too. That's just to protect the underside of it from ever contacting and shorting against the bottom. So we really don't need this either. All right, so now we have our BMS side over here. There is an order to disconnecting this BMS. If you mess it up, you could fry your battery, your BMS, and do a bunch of other stuff. But it's really easy to avoid if you just do this mindfully. We need to take out this white connector right here. This is our balance connector. These are the balance leads. This is actually what balance our cells. We need to remove this up and out. But this connector is in here really, really tight, and it's really hard to get my fingers up and around it. I do this because I feel confident enough doing this. So I'm gonna go through and try to pull it out. All right, now she's out. Then you can go through and take out the discharge wire. This one is the one that actually is connecting to the battery. Now you can go ahead and take this guy out. There we go. This wire, this XT60, is the one that actually goes up and into the controller. This is like our discharge line. You can unplug that guy. Just be careful doing this because you can break off and pull parts off. Just do it with finesse, you know. Next guy, this is our, I'm guessing this is our data cable from the BMS to the controller. You can undo her just by squeezing her and pulling her out. Then our charge line. Take that and pull her out. Boom. Let's take out this light bar down here. Why don't we? There we go. Here is our back light bar. Gonna go ahead and we can take these and keep them in the pile. All right, fantastic. Now, it's replugging everything else in. All right, so now we need to get our controller box prepped and ready for our Superflex motor connector. It's gonna go exactly where this one is, but if you look at it, you'll see that this one is a perfect circle, while this one is a perfect circle with a little bit of a square on it. All we need to do is take our file here and we're going to shave this down right here. Shave it down so that it can fit inside. So I don't really know when this is going to be done. I'm just going off vibes until I'm able to fit it in. When you're done doing this part, make sure that you get all the metal shavings out of here, because if there are metal shavings inside of this, it's going to short the controller while you're riding and it's not going to be fun. I'm just going to test and see if that was enough. That probably wasn't enough, but unscrew this. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Look at that, nice. And first try, that's nice and secured in there. I'm just gonna spend a little bit more time trying to get the rest of this metallic shavings out of here, because I ain't really trying to have my entire box blow up because something that stupid and small. Let's get our foot pad connector now. Here's our foot pad connector. Of course, unscrew it, and you don't unscrew it. Push in through there. It should go just like that. There we go. Nice and easy. Dude, flying through this. Bro. Alright, let's get ready for the Thor, I guess. I mean, I could put the lights in. Let's do the lights first. Let's get the lights out inside of here, and then we'll do the Thor and the BMS, you know. Alright. I'm gonna get this dude out, and if I'm correct, it should just slot right down in here, right? Just like that. Oh, God. What screw was this? Oh, God. I think it was this one. Like, was it this one? Was it really that one? That's strange. I thought that one was in there. I don't know. I thought I just used the back one, but over here too. You know, I'll figure that out in a second. I'll figure that part out in a second. Let's just try to get this one in here though. Okay. I'm just gonna keep this bit out for the second and figure out where this one goes. If I figure that out, I'm gonna freeze frame right now and then explain it.
I have no idea where those light clamps went. I took the one from the back and put it on the front because that one fit, but then the front one didn't fit on the back, so I have no idea. I just used compression and tape, and I just kind of kept it down. Like I said at the beginning, VESC is not perfection, just a management of imperfections.
Cool. Second thing of lights. Here are our rear ones, and they should just plug in just like that to our back. You take like that back wire here, that's for the LEDs, that should just go right in place. Gotta finagle it around a little bit since there's a really tight space back there, but that should do it. Alright, now for the status light bar. I'm going to just go and find the right orientation. Goes at these two little posts right here. Probably just like that. Great. See, we can take our data line here, and the data line from that BMS side can go right into where the status goes. Alright, I'm going to leave this right here for the second. I'm going to plug in our Thor right here. I'm going to take her out. It should go something like here. Fits nice and snug into there. Okay, Allen wrench. There, she's threading now. Nice. I mean, all right, cool. So now, everything else. Okay. Gonna take the switch from the status bar and we'll put it to here. I have our first status LED right here, which is going to go into this first one. Right here we have our status, we have front, and we have rear if you're putting together like a normal Thor. So put in our status right here. And then front LED connects here. So it's going 1, 2, and then 3 is coming out from here and going to the back. Okay. And then I should be able to take our guy here
this is our power switch, and it looks like I can just remove this piece of tape real quickly. Take our power button and stick it into there. Now our foot pad connector, but this should go here. All right, now our halls. I believe hall sensors are right here, next to the rightmost USB. This is generally what our connections are all going to look like. I might do some change up the order of how I did this so I can have everything fit all nice, flush. Okay, now take care of the BMS side. All right, here is our, that's not our BMS. Here is our BMS. What did I do with my gloves? They're over there. Oh God, okay. Gloves are on, again, because I don't want to have to hurt myself on any of this. And the same thing applies, but backwards with our BMS. We do have a connection order. We're going to plug in the XT60s and all the charge wire stuff first, then the balance leads. Essentially, you don't want the balance leads to ever be connected in by themselves. You want to remove the balance leads first, then the XT60s. And then when plugging it back in, you want to do the XT60s first, then the balance leads. All right, so I'm gonna plug in my charge line first. Like that, cool. Then I can take our data line and squeeze her into here. Cool. Negative goes here. That. And then I can plug up my discharge. Although discharge isn't going anywhere right now, I'm going to plug it in up here. But negative to negative. Like that. And then now, the balance leads. Oh, look at that. She lit up. She's alive. Cool. I don't feel anything on fire, and that's a good thing. Nothing's on fire yet. That's like really, really promising. Sorry, I'm like smelling just to make sure I don't smell anything burning on fire. I'm probably just being like, I'm probably overthinking it way too much. Okay, I'm cool. I'm cool. All
right, I'm sorry. I need to jump ahead a little bit so that I can correct something. So you might have noticed that I didn't plug in the 3 black motor phase wires. Just overlooked it. Inside of your kit, each one of these 3 black wires should be color coded. All you have to do is match the colors and your motor should work after we go through and put everything back together and engage the motor and whatnot. If yours for some reason isn't color coded, know that if you plug it in the wrong direction, it's not going to break anything, but your motor isn't going to work. In the pre-configured files, our phase wires are matched together. But if you plug them differently, can I even do that with my fingers? They're not going to match. It's not going to do anything bad to your motor, but when you try to go and engage it, it might clunk and not work properly at all. You're either going to have to find the correct phase order for it, or you're going to have to go through and do the motor wizard and then rematch those wires. Not the biggest deal in the world. After I post this video, I should have another one up that will walk you through how to reprogram your board entirely. Just keep it in mind. Match the colors. If they're not matched, your motor won't work perfectly. Dude, I'm just going to keep repeating this. VESC is not perfection. It's a management of imperfections.
Okay, that was it. You can go back now.
Okay, I'm cool. I'm cool. Now with negative being negative and that being here, just looking, making sure that positive goes here, and cool. All right, I'm about to plug this in, and as soon as I plug this in, the caps are gonna refill up, and it's gonna create a little bit of a spark on here. Spark's fine, that's normal. Just hopefully nothing blows up in my face. Ah! Okay, let's see what the fuck happens. I mean, she turns on, so, all right, cool. All right, I guess that's sort of the installation process done. I just have to go through and fold everything in back together, but I'm probably gonna leave it open first because I still have to go through and put the Loctite in, put the thermal paste in, and kind of close down everything, but there's that. Wow, that was really quick and easy. That's horrifying how quick and easy that was. Wow. Okay, cool.
All right, so at this point, I'm putting everything back in together, but there's a few things that we have to keep in mind. One, I do a little bit of reshuffling of the wire orders to make sure that everything sort of sits flush inside. You know, like the wires aren't crossing over each other, nothing's getting clipped or anything. I'm also zip tying some wires together, like my phase wires. When I connect them together, I'm gonna apply heat shrink around the connection point to make sure that they stay together. But also sometimes there's a little bit of exposed copper that I wanna make sure cannot arc or do anything weird. Same applies with a lot of my other wires. Anything that I can go through and hot glue down and keep stable and secured while I'm riding and thrashing around this board, I need to go through and solidify. I also do this with my light bars as well. At the little ends, I'll probably add little dabs of hot glue on the sides just to make sure that they stay in there. Again, I couldn't figure out what the f to do with the light clamps, so I'm just using compression and a little bit of tape to sort of keep it in line. But there's also one important thing that you have to do no matter what. I don't know if this is going to be solved on future kits, but as it stands right now, the front LED is super weird. It's a really good LED. It is super bright. It is brighter than any future motion light I've ever seen. But for whatever reason, when it's sat down inside of the box, it has a tendency to short out on the metal box. Here's a few symptoms of the light bar failing. If your light bar is stuck white and you can't control the RGB values on it and you can't even determine whether or not it's on or off, that's a pretty good sign that your LED is shorting against the box. Also, if you're riding with the LED consistently shorting against the box, your board is gonna have a lot of really weird IMU issues. You're gonna hop on your board and the IMU normally stays straight, right? But as you're riding, you're gonna feel it folding underneath your feet, almost like the IMU, the balancing of your board, isn't confident in its position. It's due to the LED shorting and we're doing a bunch of weird electrical stuff. To solve all of those issues, you have to wrap the LED in electrical tape. Anything that can insulate the LED bar from the box, you have to wrap up the box around. Also, don't use thermal paste. Use thermal pads, or honestly, the heatsink on it is so massive that you probably don't even really need the heatsink behind it. So in my case, I even put electrical tape on the back side of the LED bar because screw it, I don't really care. If none of those attempts work and it's still really finicky and weird, we can send you out another LED bar, but it's more than likely just still shorting inside of it. So just experiment with electrical tape and sitting it down inside until it works. Around all the edges of all of my connectors, I'm applying a bead of silicone around the edges of it just to waterproof it. I also do a bead of silicone around all of the edges of my boxes and also do it on the inside, all around the edges of it so that it can clamp down and fill out any little air pockets and whatnot. Again, just go through around all the edges of all your connectors and add a little bit of a bead of this and then probably push down the washers and just flatten it out and fill up any type of air bubbles that there are. That was a lot of words really quickly. I hope that works.
Oh my god, that was so much word throw up. I'm so sorry. Listen, here's the rest of the video where I put it all back together and I give my closing thoughts.
Whew, they're tight. Stick it in through here. Forever. Now I'm just gonna do this other side too, man. I just don't want this wheel on a bar part while I'm doing stuff. All right, so I have the board all assembled back together and put together and whatnot, but I just can't help but feel that it's still just a little bit too future motion-y for me. I know what I can do. All right. Can y'all give me just 1 second? Like 1 second, and I'll be like right back. I can do that. Yeah, cool. Yeah, hold up. Bear with me for a second. Bear with me. And
Now this, I can get down with this.
all right, welcome to the ending of our video. Here is our board all put together, and my first time powering it on. There she goes. Here we go. And my GTFO is working, and so should yours. I say the word should because every VESC is different. Every build is different, and you might have different results and whatnot. So most likely your board should be in working condition. But if it's not, if your board is clunking, if the lights aren't working, after I post this, and maybe in about a week or two, I should post a firmware video that'll cover everything. I didn't include it in this video because I'm already at 30 or so minutes or something like that, and I didn't want to make this video be an hour long. Maybe to give me a little bit of incentive to make that video, you should like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me that you want that video, because at the moment I really don't know if I really should or not. Because again, your board should be working. And just as a reminder, VESC is not perfection. It is a management of... Let me give you my general thoughts about the entire build. First off, super easy to put together. I've put together all types of boards. I've gone through all the trials and tribulations. And besides the X7, this was the easiest retrofitting of a board that I have ever done before. And I've actually never had a pre-configured board work out of the box. And having this engage just like that was a really surreal feeling. There's only one complaint. I talked about this before, and it was the LEDs. They're super weird. Besides the LED shorting issue that we can solve with insulating, there's also another issue with this, and it's the brightness of the LEDs. The brightness isn't really an issue, but it's what the brightness does to the Thor. The lights are so bright that, remember that electrical interference issue I was talking about, how you can get really weird sensations on your board? The same thing can happen still, even if you've insulated the LEDs, if you have your brightness set really high. If you have your brightness set to 100%, you're gonna get so many weird characteristics with your board moving and wobbling and just not acting right. I tried setting it down to 50%, still had the issue. I tried setting it down to 25%, and the board still just felt weird. It's a very intangible feeling to feel the board just having its personality change with the lights on. So currently I ride with all lights off except for my status light. I have all of my other lights turned off and all of it is just because the Thor 300 can't handle the brightness of these LEDs. Now, luckily for us, in about a month or so, we should have the Thor 300 out. And the Thor 300 should have a much better buck converter. That's what's doing all the work for the LEDs, sort of. So once the Thor 301 comes out, I am very excited to see how it handles lights, because right now we just don't have it well. I'm probably gonna rig my own buck converter that's gonna be separate from the controller so that I can run lights. But as of right now, I do not mess with lights on my Thor. But besides that, like the power and the torque that's now available out of this board, I hate the fucking GT. A GT was my first board I ever got, and switching over to XR has been such an amazing ride feel. The XR just feels so much more tucked in and nice than a GT ever will, because on a GT you just feel like your center of gravity is just a little bit higher. Instead of riding inside of the board, you're riding on top of the board, which I loathe. But the power that is available with the Superflux and the VESC and being shrunk down to this 6-inch hub instead of the 6.5-inch hub makes it like 50% better. I've been riding this board more often than I cared to admit because I'm Team XR. This kit saved my GT. All you have to do is remember that this is not a plug and play kit. You can plug it and then start playing with it, but it's not plug and play. It still requires a little bit of work. But if you can just muster up the energy to get a little bit of dirt on your hands to get this board working, this board will kick a GTS's ass. So yeah, anyways, thanks for watching. Please let me know in the comments if you would like me to post a firmware video, and I will go through and get that cooking in the next week or so. But thank you for watching. I'll see you the next time I decide to do something.
Where are you flying off to? I've got work to do.